While you were partying, I studied the weasel blade. While you were having premarital sex, I mastered Yosenju. While you wasted your days at the gym in pursuit of vanity, I cultivated the metagame. And now that the world is on fire, you have the audacity to come to me for deck building advice.
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. It's been an exciting week for me. For those of you that aren't familiar, I was invited to participate in CMO's Yugi Tuber Grand Championship, so I'm deep in the tank searching for tech to beat, Robbie Cole. Oh boy. Anyway, to take my mind off of my imminent destruction, I'll be playing with some of the new tools bequeathed to us in Rising Rampage, Yosenju. So here's the deck, and God, this takes me back. Remember when lose one turn was the pinnacle of human ingenuity and people would write 10,000-word screeds on Pojo about how broken Effect Veiler was? Good times. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. So firstly, for those of you that don't know, Yosenju is an archetype of samurai ferrets? I don't know, I'm a little fuzzy on the details. They, like several other frustrating archetypes, break the rules in an innovative way. After normal summoning one of them, the other monsters can then be normal summoned immediately afterwards in a chain. Effective Yosenju setups are usually 3 monsters deep and backed by defensive traps like Torrential Tribute and removal that plays well with the archetype like Kaijus. Because their summons are all normal, they play immensely well with consistency boosting tools like Card of Demise and Pot of Duality. The downside to this swarming ability is that they return to your hand at the end of the turn, which leaves you open to massive backswings, provided your opponent is able to clear your back row, which in this day and age, they usually are. Until now, the printing of Yosenju Weaselblade Wind solves both of the problems previously plaguing this archetype. Weaselblade Wind is a trap card that can be activated provided you control no monsters, which is almost always the case, and fills a niche in non-destruction removal. In a metagame full of destruction protection like Balinx and effective destruction immunity like Colossus, it's nice to be able to channel the power of Kirin on our opponent's turn. We're playing this alongside a new and improved trap lineup that aims to both consistently find Weaselblade Wind as well as bungle the boogie people of the format, Sky Striker, Salamangrate, and Thunder Dragon. The deck is also painfully in need of a third good monster, and the to-be-released Yosenju Izun might just be that. Taking the place of Chuk, it's one of the modal Yosen and can be either pitched to prevent your opponent from activating effects when one of your Yosenju is summoned, previously the deck's hardest choke point, or can draw a card when you've got a pair of Yosen on your side of the field. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First, we're on 3,1, the Kirin, 1,2, the direct attacker, and 3,3, the Rhoda. After that, we're on 3 Izu and 1 Artifact Scythe. For spells, we're on 3 Demise, 3 Duality, and 3 Tenki. For traps, we're on 3 Weaselblade, 3 Impermanence, 3 Sanctum, 3 Torrential, 2 Heavy Storm Duster, and 3 Trap Trick to find all the aforementioned cards. Finally, we're on 3 Summon Limit. In the extra deck, we are on Mega Fleet on the off chance that our opponent does all the work for us, Grand Pulse for Party Boat, the Utopia Boys, the Boat, Exciton Knight, Kidori, Abyss Dweller, Nightmares Phoenix, Unicorn, and Cerberus, Great Fly, Beat Cop, Link Hurry to beat, Lost World, and Clara and Rushka. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Witchcrafter. We are going second, which is optimal, and our opponent's opener is, Okay, real talk, I have no idea what constitutes a playable Witchcrafter hand. I suppose 0 Witchcrafter cards and a Salaman Gazelle. They're going to start by activating Witchcraft Creation, getting a copy of Schmidta to hand. They'll then activate the effect of Schmidta for Pittore. Then activate Pittore's effect to get a copy of Master Vare. They're going to set this copy of Summon Limit, send a copy of By Street with this copy of Schmidta, and add 2 spells back to hand at end step. We draw for turn. Ooh, it's a Card of Demise. That's getting ashed. We're going to activate as few effects as possible, giving our opponent as few opportunities to activate the effect of Vare, because we do want these back in our hand so that our copy of Weaselblade Wind is online. We'll add it off of 3's effect with 2 attacking directly, and then return all 3 of these back to the hand at end step. Ho ho ho, our opponent is so excited to attack directly. They'll activate the effect of Pittore, then normal summon a Pittore, getting in for 1,000 points of damage. At end step, they're going to activate the effect of Sabotage. We will activate Weaselblade Wind, returning both Master Vare and By Street. They'll activate Creation, getting it as well, but from here, it's all gas for us. We're going to normal summon 1, use its effect to get a copy of, oh god, there's Pittore, and there's Hane, as expected. 3, and then 3's effect will get a copy of 2. We'll activate 1 to return this copy of Hane. They'll chain Hane in response, destroying our 1, but that's the wrong target. It means we can activate the effect 3 to get a 1 back to our hand, and this trap trick should pull up the rest of the game. We'll return these back to our hand once again. Our opponent will draw for turn. They find a copy of Scroll. They'll activate the effect of Pittore, then go into Creation. They'll then normal summon a copy of Schmidt, go to battle phase, do 1800 points of damage. I am not concerned about it. They'll activate Scroll and pass it back. By Street returns, we'll activate the effect of Trap Trick, getting our remaining copy of Weasel Wind. We'll activate it, returning the Schmidt and this copy of By Street, because of course Schmidt can only activate in the main phase, and that's just about it. We'll activate comma 3, activate comma 2, activate comma 1 again, and get in for lethal. Our second match is up against Thunder Dragon. Now I know what you're thinking, Joseph, it's only game 2, why are you playing against meta? Well, you'll see. Our opponent's going first, which means they're going to lead with a copy of Upstart Goblin. Drawing a copy of Allure of Darkness must be nice. They'll activate Allure of Darkness after normal summoning a copy of Batteryman Solar and sending a duo to graveyard. This triggers the banished effect of Thunder Dragon Dark, getting a Thunder Dragon, which they will immediately trigger. Afterwards, they're going to trigger the effect of Roar and special summon a copy of Duo. They'll activate another copy of Allure of Darkness before going to Sun Summer Summoner, who has ruined 5 of my takes, going into a Titan, and ending on Thunder Dragon Goliath. Well, we'll lead with an Infinite Impermanence. Our opponent's going to activate a trap card I have never read, which apparently reborns Duo. We'll activate the effect of Kama to get a copy of Izun. We'll draw a card, and then Kama will, I guess, destroy this format-destroying super threat. We'll activate the effect of Kama and Izun after drawing 2 monsters off of a card of demise. We're going to activate Sanctum as soon as possible, so we don't lose the game immediately. Our opponent's going to activate the Grave effect of Thunder Dragon Fusion, then activate Thunder Dragon for a Thunder Dragon, triggering the effect of Duo and special summoning a copy of Thunder Dragon with Avian. They'll get in for 14 and decide they don't want to lose to Drowning Mirror Force. Joke's on you, I'm not playing good cards. We're going to activate Tanky to get a copy of 3 to hand. We'll normal summon 1, normal summon 3, and normal summon Izun. Izun will draw a card, and it's Weasel Blade Wind. Look at that. We'll use Kama to get a second copy of Izun so it's not negated next turn, and we'll return all of our monsters to our hand. I could have returned this copy of Duo, but I'm not keen on allowing my opponent to trigger a bunch of grave effects. Our opponent draws a copy of Thunder Dragon Fusion for turn, goes into Titan, and what do you know? That's 2 monsters. They'll scoop to the Weasel Blade Wind. Alright, so it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent is playing Salamangreat, which is just a little bit upsetting, but it's one of the matchups in which Weasel Blade Wind should be really good. They're going to start with a copy of Lady Debugger. We have nothing with which to stop them, so go off, King. They're going to add a copy of Gazelle to hand, go into a Balinx, use Balinx's effect for Sanctuary, then fire off a Pot of Desires, Jaguar, Jaguar, Jaguar. They're going to go into a Sanctuary and a second copy of Balinx, triggering the effect of Gazelle in hand, setting a Spinny. The Spinny will overlay into a Mirage Stallion, getting... shoot, it's still in the deck. Okay, they'll then go into a Sunlight Wolf, use the effect of Jaguar to return it to the link point, set 2 cards, and pass it back. We draw for turn, activate a Tanky, and... oh god. We have no other play if this gets ashed. Okay, looks like we're setting for and hoping for the best. Our opponent's going to activate Mirage Stallion for Mole. They'll then activate the effect of Gazelle. We'll activate Sanctum, and they activate Solemn Warning. Who plays that? Well, it at least destroys Sanctum, so hopefully we can get rid of this copy of Balinx and then activate Torrential later. Unfortunately, they have the Rage, and they'll target the Torrential. They activate the Balinx now, which means when they go into another copy of Sunlight Wolf, that's when we fire off our remaining Torrential. They'll use Mole's effect in Graveyard, and unfortunately, they have a copy of Will, so they can get back a Sunlight Wolf and then Reincarnation summon it, normal summoning a Salamangreat Foxy, and from this position, I see no win con whatsoever. They're going to use Jack Jaguar's effect, and return a copy of Ash Blossom. That means the Tanky in our hand is effectively dead. We'd have to search some other must negate. They'll go into a Heat Leo, shuffling back our remaining trap and wishing us luck. We do draw Pot of Duality, which should eat out the Ash Blossom negate. It does. We'll activate Tanky, get 2, attack into this copy of... Alright, that was a little bit frustrating, but now it's time for game 2. I've elected to go first because I'm pretty sure a Floodgate is our only out here. We're going to lead with a Pot of Duality, and what do we find off the top but a copy of Artifact Sanctum. That is good enough. We will take it. We'll normal summon this copy of 3 and this copy of Izu. We'll draw a card, and what do you know? It's Tanky. We'll add a 1 to hand, a set 3, and at end step, return all of our monsters to the hand. We're hoping for the best here. In draw phase, we're going to activate Artifact Sanctum. Our opponent's going to chain a copy of Salamangreat Circle. That gets us a Scythe to our side of the board. It will activate its effect, and we basically have exactly 1 turn to wrap this up. They'll activate Foxy, and they find a Roar. Stop finding negation. They'll set 2 and pass back to us. That's great news. We're going to normal summon a copy of Kama 1, normal summon a copy of Kama 3, and normal summon an Izun. He will draw us a copy of Card of Demise. Things are looking pretty good. We're going to trigger Kama 3 to get a copy of Weasel Blade Wind, but unfortunately it's not exactly activatable, because of course you can't have any monsters on your side of the field, and this Artifact Scythe is sticking around. The remainder will scoop back up into our grip and pray that we don't lose. Our opponent's going to activate the effect of Foxy, destroying our Tanky. Fine. We'll activate Transience on this copy of Foxy to lock out the set spell or trap, which we know is Roar. We'll negate the effect of Gazelle as well. They go into Balinks. They'll get a copy of Sanctuary. They'll activate the effect of Spinny, then the second effect of Spinny. Before going into Mirage Stalio, we will Infinite Transience that, and 3 of their spell and trap zones are now locked. They'll go into Sunlight Wolf, activate the effect of Falco, resetting this copy of Salamangreat Circle before going into a second Sunlight Wolf, re-adding Salamangreat Circle, and activating it in the wrong zone. We'll activate the effect of Heat Leo, shuffling back Weaselblade Wind, we hardly knew ye. They'll attack directly for 2300 in main phase 2, activate Pot of Desires in the wrong column again, and all we have to out is the Heat Leo, and we got this. We'll first lead with a copy of Izun, so our opponent can't negate our monster's effects. We'll go into 1, into 3, we'll activate one's effect, shoot, and there's an effect failure. Well, we'll activate Card of Demise, set 5, and pass it back to our opponent. Unfortunately, Weaselblade Wind is still off, because the negated effect of comma 1 means he sticks around. We'll activate Torrential, but our opponent is going to activate Roar. That's extremely upsetting to me, because now when we activate the second Torrential, they can just prevent the destruction with Balinks. I cannot believe we lost this one. So we're back with the deck, and that was rough, but not unsalvageable. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it was fine. I mean, Yosenju's always had a very consistent, linear style of gameplay, and if that line is better than your opponent's line, you win. I'm glad to see that that hasn't changed, and if anything, the new cards have expanded the list of decks that the line beats. 2, Weaselblade whips. I mean, it's really good, and since non-destruction removal is at a premium right now, it lines up excellently against threats like Thunder Dragon Titan and Thunder Dragon Goliath, I suppose. And 3, it's extremely easy. This is a fantastic deck for people with a rudimentary knowledge of Yu-Gi-Oh! To just pick up and go. And the cons. 1, while the supreme consistency of the strategy is a good thing, of course, it is also kind of deterministic. I mean, you can pretty much map the entire scope of the match just by knowing what your opponent's on, which is frustrating. 2, decks have gotten a whole lot better at sniping back row. Between Heat Leo, Foxy, main deck Twin Twisters, Reboot, and the like, you'll be facing a lot of the same quality of answers as meta decks do, except our deck isn't meta. And 3, you do take a couple of turns to win the game, and decks with limitless advantage engines like Salamangreat can take full advantage of that. All in all, I mean, it's an improvement, but it turns out Yosen needed a little more than a couple of pieces of support and some new pendulums to compete. So that's that. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to go back to reading Homestuck. If you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I'm on twitch.tv/mbtygo every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and if you have an idea for a certain deck or archetype you want to see on a future episode of this show, let me know in the comments section below and I'll do my best. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.